What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Wrenching Podcast. Today's topic was not on the agenda, I'll be honest, but it seems like it's something that I've had to talk about and explain multiple times to multiple people. And so I think maybe this is just a common theme right now. I think it could help somebody else out. And so here we go. Sometimes you slow down to speed up. It makes no sense, but it makes every bit of sense. Let me explain. I've read multiple books, listened in multiple podcasts, where people say sometimes you have to not work in the business, but work on the business to grow and scale it. And it's like, well, how does that make sense? Like, it's my business, I own it, I have to work in the business. No. You set people in place. There's a lot of cops out. You set people in place to take over, so you're not managing everything, doing everything, so that you can sit from an outside perspective and watch it. You watch from an outside perspective to see what is growing, what is not, what needs a little bit more attention, and then that is where you put your magic touch. Yes, it is your business, but let's use for an example, a really simple business would be just a lawn mowing company. If you're always mowing lawns, actually, I can relate to this. Let me give my example instead. I can relate to this. I used to own a trucking business. Really small. It was just me. I think at one point I tried adding one person, but it was really small. I never took the time to step back, look at the numbers, and see if I was actually profitable. I just saw big numbers. I saw big checks. I saw a lot of outflow, but never took the time to look at the P&L. Because I said I need to put everything back into the business, and that is what is happening right now. I'm putting all my money back into the business, and that's why I don't see profitability right now. Because I'm putting everything back into it. Well, literally that. And I was never able to step back and look and say, you know what? I'm actually literally putting everything back into the business because I am not making anything. Until it was too late, and I had a catastrophic failure where my one truck blew the engine, and it was tens of thousands of dollars to repair, and I couldn't afford it. And I said, surely I can just pull credit. And it's like, no, I was out of credit. I dug myself in a hole. Okay, so how do you get out of that? My situation was, and so in that case, I had to completely abandon ship, and I could not continue the business. I had to go find a job because I was out of funding. I had to start from zero, actually negative. And it is because I did not slow down. I said, I need to scale the business so much. I need to work on this so much. I need to work as many hours as I can, that I never took the time to slow down, look at the numbers, look at what's actually coming in and going out. And that was a task that would have taken me maybe an hour to look at statements, to look at expenses, to look at payment that was coming in. It would have taken me an hour. 1 hour that I put aside from all the work, the actual like showing up and doing the work, would have saved the business, potentially. Because I would have taken my business elsewhere and done work elsewhere, or try to charge more and then seen how it went from there. But at very least, I would know I am not doing this right, and I need to change either my income or my outflow. And so, because I did not slow down, I could not speed up. I could not grow the business. I could not take what I had and multiply it, because I was too fast on pushing forward and growing. And this does happen. It is a common theme. People do this in their business, where they just think this is just business. You throw money at the business, eventually it'll grow. So it's not that. You have to manage it properly. You have to be smart about where you just throw your money. Because if you're just throwing money, of course you're just throwing money. You're throwing it instead of managing it. Okay, but I don't own a business. So what are you talking about? You can do that in anything that you're doing. At home, with your goals, with a hobby, with a specific skill, with a specific task, with just managing your life. If you feel like you don't have enough time, it's exactly it. It's because you have not zoomed out to think about how you're actually doing everything, and that is why you're running out of time. That is how I felt at one point too. At one point it was, I got content, I got my life that I gotta still work on, I got my own personal growth, and then I gotta go to work, and I gotta keep up with my own expenses, and eventually it was, okay, so how do you manage this? How do you deal with this? How do people that run multi-billion-dollar businesses with so many things going on do it? I can't hire somebody to manage it for me. So how do they do it? How did they do it when they couldn't hire somebody to manage for them? It's not a time thing, because we all have the same time every day. Might be a skill thing. Somebody's skill might be able to progress a little bit faster. If you know how to do something a little bit quicker than somebody else, then yeah, you do save yourself the time. Or are you just not using your current resources to their full capacity? But if you never take a step back and actually look at where you can improve, you will never have that improvement. You will always keep hitting your head against the wall that you're not going to break through by hitting it with your head. It's a skill problem. It's a management problem. It's an out of my control problem. You don't have to have a big, huge thing going on in your life. It could be simple. It could be you have a job, you come home, you want to make time for the gym, maybe a hobby, and then you go to sleep and you wake up the next day. But you don't have enough time. I had to use this analogy recently. If you let things accumulate, you will have a pile to come and clean. You will have a mountain to come and clean. If you are proactive and keep up with it little by little, later you might have to come and do a really good clean sweep, but it won't be as bad because you have been on top of it little by little. You've been chipping away at it instead of letting it accumulate. That saves you time, because later, instead of spending 8 hours to clean your whole space, you're only using 2. And then the other 6 hours were split up in between the week, and so you still got your 8 hours worth of cleaning. You only needed to sit down and actually do 2 hours. And so therefore, your Saturday, your Sunday, you have time for your hobby, your goals, any studying, any learning you want to do. I mean, then you make time for yourself. It's like that in many things, not just time management, but money management as well. I realized that stopping at the gas station, even though it's $5, it accumulates. Just like skills compound, those $5 compound. You do that 10 times a month, that's 50. Yeah, you do that 10 times a month, that's $50. If you go to work 25 days out of the month and you spend an average of $5, that's about $125. Now I'm broke at the end of the month. I thought I was going to have an extra $150. Now I only have $25. Well, you would have had that much money left over, but instead of saving it bit by bit, you spent it bit by bit. And this doesn't have to be rocket science. It could be simply, again, if you feel like you do not have time, if you feel like you're falling behind, it is simply sometimes you say, let me stop everything for an hour, write everything out that I need done, how long I think it's going to take me to do, and think, is there a faster way to do it? That's all you have to do. And you do that when you feel like you do not have the time to get those things done. It is more crucial to stop in those moments where you feel like you do not have time before it gets out of hand. Just like my business. I did not stop for an hour or two to think about the consequences of the way I was running the business, and I ended up losing it. If I would have stopped 1 hour, couple of hours, reviewed everything, where am I losing, where am I overspending, why am I overspending, can I optimize that, or can I request an increase in the rate that I'm getting paid for, and is this honestly making sense? Right now with my day trading, if I never stopped, I just recently took off a month, 2 weeks because I fasted with the church, I did a spirit fast with the church, and then the 2 weeks prior because I feel like the market just wasn't there the last 2 weeks of last year, of 2025. If I never took off those 2 weeks, those 4 weeks, and if I never took off that month, I would have never been able to stop, let my mind rest, and then come up with ways to optimize on how I'm spending my time trading, on how I'm looking at my executions. I needed that time off. Whether it was kind of forced or given to me or I committed, but at the end of the day, I committed. Regardless of the situation, I committed to it because I needed it. I needed my mind to rest. So then when I came back, I was refreshed, but also in that time that I was not actively trading, I was able to slow down, go back, review more or less what I'm looking at, review my entries, review the way that I'm trading, review my strategy, review my strategy for day to day, review my overall analysis, and then think, is this the way that I want to keep performing, or do I want to get better? I want to get better. Okay, what does better look like? Better entries, better exits, holding longer. These are things that I've decided to work on. More critical about which situations I decide to put risk on. Again, this is me coming as a day trader. But with you guys, it could be something completely else. It could be sales. It could be, is my approach, what's it called? My pitch. Is my pitch still working? In this season, is my pitch still working? You can't say, in the middle of summer, you can't be like, oh, your heater will run a lot better if you buy this heater. Or in the winter, you cannot say, you will save more money on your electricity bill by buying this solar panel and putting it on your roof. When the person knows it is winter, dude, like, what do you mean the sun? The sun is only out for like 8 hours a day. In the summer, yes, it's 12 hours. In the summer, it makes sense, but not right now. Maybe you come back in the summer. Okay, so you gotta refine your pitch. Your pitch can no longer be, with the 16 hours a day that we get with sunlight, you will make this much, or you will be able to pay back your electricity bill, and so therefore, it's worth it for you to buy solar. And so, again, you have to stop, optimize your pitch, and then fix it. Okay, can't be using that pitch this time of the year. More or less, I have to realize around this time of the year, is it better to come up with a different pitch or just try both of them, depending on the situation? If you're selling cars, you're not going to sell a sports car in the winter. If the winters get icy and the roads get slippery, you're not going to sell a sports car in the winter. You can more than likely sell an SUV, a four-wheel drive vehicle, but you're not going to sell a sports car, more than likely in the winter. You'll have to almost give a deal. You almost don't want to sell one in the winter. You have to wait till the summer where it's dry, it's hot, people like going out, and they just want that experience of having something fun to drive, something good to look in. But if you stick with that idea where you use the same pitch all year around, and you never stop and optimize, again, examples, right? You have to think about whatever your situation is in, whether you're just at home and you feel like you have your whole home to manage and you don't have enough time, or if it's some kind of different business that you feel like it's not enough money. Maybe it's not enough money. Should you be billing higher? Do you need to review your billing? Do you need to review how much you're trying to scale back into the business and you're over leveraging, and it's not giving you the return that you thought? But if you never stop and think about how you're going to optimize these things, of course, you're never going to fix it. There's also another instance where you need to slow down and optimize. And that is when you're wasting time. Okay, so two instances in which you waste time. One, you feel like you're good and you don't have anything else to do. And two is when you think you're doing the most, but in all honesty, you are doing the most to get your outcome or to get your progress done. If you feel like there's nothing for you to do, more than likely what is happening is that you're not looking for enough, or you're content, and that is not going to push you forward. If you feel like you have nothing to do, or if you feel like you're doing the most, there's always a little bit more you can optimize. It's like, let's say you're going to the gym and you're like, well, I'm going to the gym, I'm working hard, I'm walking, I'm running for an hour straight, and I'm not losing weight. But when I leave the gym, I go directly to McDonald's because I'm hungry right after. It's like, you think you are doing the most possible, but in all honesty, you're just wasting time, because you're not going to get anywhere going to McDonald's and pigging out after you just left the gym. There are healthier and better alternatives that will fuel your hunger that are not that. And then there's the complete opposite, where it's like, I don't have time to stop and optimize. I'm already doing the most and I'm not getting my result. I feel like I'm stuck in this sometimes, where I feel like I'm not getting the result I want and I keep optimizing. Sometimes you have to let time play out. Is this actually the most, or are you just saying that you're doing the most? Which is hard. It's a unique situation. It really is a unique situation because your situation might be trying to balance your career and your home time, and then somewhere in there trying to start a side hustle. And what that usually comes to a lot of times is you then have to sacrifice a little bit of your career or a little bit of your home time for whatever it is that you're trying to build, your side hustle time. You have to take a little bit from both. But at the end of the day, you can't fix anything unless you have accountability. If you can't say, maybe I am doing this wrong, maybe there is a better way, maybe I'm not right, let me see what someone else is doing. If somebody else can pull it off, why can't I? I watched a video years ago, or maybe it was a podcast, but this stuck with me so much. I think the topic was about sales, and this lady was getting 5% of her leads and actually converting them into clients. And so they're like, you want to get to 17. If you get to 17, you'll be in a really good spot. You're killing it if you get to 17. She misunderstood and did 70. She misunderstood the assignment and shot more than 5 times better than what she was expected to. Her conversion rate goal that they had set for her was 17. That was a high side. She hit 70. It took that time to sit and compare. Okay, she's at like 5%. She has to get to 17. She misunderstood 5 for 70. And if you never, again, stop and look at what somebody else is doing, you don't have any target. Her target was 70 and somehow made it happen when everybody else's target was only 17. How much effort do you think it would have taken her when people are only shooting for 17% turn rate and she was shooting for 70? How much effort do you think it would have taken her, or it took her, to find the right resources, to find the right way to turn 70% of the leads into clients? That's a one-off story. Like, not everybody's going to be able to do that. You're not going to make 17% of your time worth 70%. You're not going to, that's, yeah. If you do, let me know. But if you can get 70% return on 17% of your time or less, that's insane. Some things you do have to fit in with what you've got. You use your resources as much as possible. Sometimes it's as simple as reaching out to somebody asking for advice. How would you do it this way? You pay attention to why somebody else got a certain outcome and why you don't. Why is it that they're doing this? It just took time for them to better that skill, and over time they got better. Okay, so what do I need to do? Do I double down and put more time into it? Does that help? Without an exact situation, it is hard to actually pinpoint this problem. I think it might be one of the trickier problems. If you have an issue with not finding leads, you just have a lead generation problem. If you have an issue with billing, it's just you're looking at your numbers wrong, or something's wrong with your numbers, or something that just doesn't make sense. That's a fix that might be simple. But if you feel like you are doing the most and yet not getting the outcome you want, more than likely you need to optimize. I've been stuck in this same cycle where I feel like I don't have the progress that I want, but also I have not put in the commitment for years that I should have. Some people just get lucky. I was scrolling through Instagram earlier, and this girl was like, oh, I made a video about day 1 of learning how to day trade, and that blew up. And then I just started making money off social media, so I was able to scale that. And then all these men started flooding my DMs about wanting to teach me. And so it's like, then everything just came to her. Like, do you know how lucky those people are? Some of us don't get that lucky. Majority of us don't get that lucky. That's a 1% chance, or maybe less. That's like winning the lottery, dude. In 6 months, supposedly she went from a lazy nobody to being a somewhat influencer. Like, that's insane. Not saying it can't happen to anybody else, but that I think it's like winning the lottery. I've been at this for 2.5 years. I've just started content basically 2 months. I started early December 2025. We're barely in February 2025. I just started. It's basically been 2 months. And as of right now, this channel still has not gotten any views. I posted shorts, and I finally got a subscriber on the YouTube channel. The podcast is doing good, but that one's honestly been up for years now, for like 5 years, with an episode uploaded here and there. No consistency, just whatever. Of course that's going to get a lot more traction. This is going to have a lot more traction. My TikTok, I post daily, almost. That one's grown from like 13 to now almost 80. And even still, I am looking for ways to optimize everything that I'm doing. Even still, sometimes I think about the way that I'm managing my time, and I think I could do better. Sometimes I think that the way that I'm trading, I think I can do better, and I obviously can, because I would be a lot more profitable. Sometimes I think that if I had a better job, I'd have a better outcome. Some things can get leveraged. My argument recently was literally this: instead of using your dishwasher as a dish storer, use it as a dishwasher. Get 90% of your dishes cleanly done, and then the other 10%, if you have to do them yourself, you only have to do 10% of dishes, not 100. Now you just save yourself 90% of the time that it takes you to do dishes, because you got 90% done in the dishwasher, 10% didn't get cleaned all the way, 10% needed more attention, so now you just give attention to the 10%. It was that simple. The other example that I had to give was financially. I'm breaking even every month. Well, what do you make? Basically $6,000. What do you mean you're breaking even? What is your rent? Totals to $3,500 a month. Well, you have it easier because you have two incomes. Like, dude, it's the same thing. Like, it's 3.5 minus 6. You still have 2.5. Like, where is that going? Well, I don't buy enough groceries for the week. I don't make time to cook. I don't make time to meal prep. I don't have time. And again, it's just like all these things just kind of adding up. And that's the thing, is that at the end of the day, when you don't optimize, you have to compensate somewhere. You have to compensate somewhere. Either you compensate through paying for it financially. Sometimes you have to pay for your time. Sometimes it is just the house is behind on cleaning, and so instead of making dinner tonight, you go buy food that night to have that extra hour and a half that would take you to cook, sit down and eat, so that you could clean. Sometimes you pay for your time. Again, you have to compensate sometimes, but not in everything. Not in everything. Again, I was compensating, I was trying to compensate for the lack of income with more time to put towards the business to try and generate more income. And that did not compensate for the loss that I was taking. By the time I realized, it was way too late. Sometimes we compensate and we balance it out. And so what you're doing is that you're overusing your resources, or you're using your resources wrong to compensate for the lack of optimization that you have. I learned that lesson the hard way by losing a business. I learned that lesson as well with my first couple YouTube channels. I had to lose them to learn how to optimize and make the most out of them. Make the most out of the situation that I had. Sometimes it's not what we want, but what we have, and we have to learn to leverage that.